We'll need to take a photo of the audience for evidence at the end of each speech, so we ask that you please remain where you are after the speech is completed. Each of the speeches are different from one another, but share an overall theme, facing our fears and challenges. Finally, Franco is here to present speech number 4 of 23, entitled Monsignor. Please join us in welcoming Franco.
I'll just wait whenever you guys are ready. Let me know when you're ready to do the time, and I'll start my time. Thanks, John. Thank you all for coming here to speech number 4 for this challenge in support of the Canadian Cancer Society. I'm going to start one thing first, which is my camera back here as well. Backups, right? Backups. So this speech here is a little bit different than most. The overall theme, as John mentioned, is facing our fears and facing our challenges. And I want to do something a little bit different here, because this is our home parish. And I want to share a story, or a number of stories with you that have inspired me for a long time. I'm going to start with a quote, and I'm not sure, someone says that Mother Teresa once said this, but it's a cool quote. It says, "I alone can't change the world, but I can cast a stone across the water and create many rivers." Bless you. I want to talk about someone who had cast many stones through the waters and created many ripples. We're here in the wake of one of those ripples. Monsignor Leo Cleary, in his 63 years as a priest, built 10 churches, 14 schools, including this church here. And the school next door that bears his name. Excuse me. So our family were fortunate enough, we're one of the earliest families in this parish. And I remember, starting out, my earliest memories of Mass was in a school gymnasium. That was a gymnasium down in Curtis High School. I remember being an altar server for Monsignor Leo Cleary. I was a student in Monsignor Leo Cleary's school, one of the first students in the school, when it was right here in the basement of the church before the school was built. Actually, I think my grade 6 class was right around where you're sitting there. Yeah. And from grade kindergarten to grade 8, the whole school is here. And a few years later, when Monsignor Cleary had retired, I was fortunate to be one of a group of students who got to interview him and kind of get his biography. We wrote the book, biography. I'm not sure whatever happened of the book, but I still have the audio, the cassette recording of that interview. I've always kept it. And unfortunately, I won't be able to share the audio with that. What I wanted to do was integrate the audio, his own words in this speech. I'm not allowed to do that according to the guidelines, but I will do my best to share those stories with you, because they're inspiring. And maybe one day we'll be able to share them through other means to the parish. I think they're really valuable. They'd be really valuable to the parish. And so I wanted to kind of highlight three main things I learned. I've always been inspired by Monsignor Clare because I can't walk into the church here without remembering Monsignor Clare. And he had a great example of what's a great example of faith, patience, and purpose. Those are the three main things that I've always taken away from, or remembered from Monsignor Clare. So I'm going to share with you some of the stories that he shared with us back in, I think it was 1988 or 87. The first example of where Monsignor demonstrated, his way of finding a way. He always had a great way of his quiet determination. And he began as a pastor in 1928 in a town called Britt, Northern Ontario, a church called the Holy Family. And he talked about this church that was outside of the village, and it was too much of a challenge for people to leave town to go to Mass and get through at the time, dirt roads. So he wanted to move it closer to the community. And he said that many people had talked about it before him, but no one actually ever tried it. So he thought he'd give it a shot. And he very carefully, board by board, dismantled the old church, brought it closer to the town so that people could attend Mass more frequently. And he said that was his first attempt at building a church, finding a way where others had tried, using his faith, patience, and purpose. Another example was in 1933, Parry Sound, where he had a challenge where he was told that a church would never be built in Parry Sound. And that had always been the case. So as Monsignor, with his patience, went ahead through the land registry records and realized that found that there was no actual regulation that did not allow churches to be built in Parry Sound. So he moved a nearby relocated St. Peter's, a church called St. Peter's, into Parry Sound and built it 3 times the size it was previously. And I believe that church still stands today. But again, another example of where, with his faith, someone's saying that it could never be done, with his quiet patience and faith, purpose, went ahead and tried it anyway. I'll give you another example of his determination. He talked about a mission in Woodville where he wanted to build a church, and he asked the local farmers for help. They were too busy. So he said, I put on my overalls, myself and another priest spent a year building a church, just the two of them. He said, at this point, I started getting good at building churches. One thing he always said was, he goes, no matter where I went, it seemed like I had to build a church. And he carried on anyway, and they built that church. And he retired, and he's done so much. He's built up the Knights of Columbus in Port Hope, and he was a school principal for the priest who's done a lot for the Catholic education system as well. I could fit all that into these 10 minutes, but he's done quite a bit for that as well. And in 1979, he said he decided at age 81 he wanted to retire. At 81. He said by 1979 he had gotten a little restless, so he called the bishop to ask for the project. And he said, he had one last stone to cast in the water. So he asked the bishop, what can I do? And he had some other projects north of here, but then he said, I have a parish in Curtis I'd like to look after. He said, they have the Mass out of the school gym in Curtis, we'd like to see you take that on. at 81 years young. And so by 1982, they had built the rectory here, which had the basement church there as well. And I remember at this time, he told me the exact dimensions, which I can't recall. The exact dimensions of the downstairs basement that only had a capacity of 200 people. And he said over the next few years, along with the sisters who had come here to help him, he had prayed to St. Therese, they had prayed to St. Therese for a church and a school. And it's funny because you see, it's an example of where, you say, cast a stone across the water and see how the ripples sometimes come back. So he said one day, after long prayers to St. Therese, as I said, for a church and a school, a convert, a young man that he had taught back in his first parish in 1928, had showed up at the door with 2 fresh roses in February. And he said soon after that, they received 2 favors. One was the loan from the bishop to build the church, and the second was a loan from the Ministry of Education to buy land for a school. And the rest is history. I guess really I want to wrap up this speech. And keeping in line with the whole theme of facing one's fears and facing one's challenges, I guess that we can learn from Monsignor Clary that sometimes we have to just get our overalls on and roll our sleeves up and get to work on whatever we want to accomplish, whatever our vocation is, to do it to the best of our ability with our faith, patience, and purpose. Because you never know when we cast stones into the waters, the ripples that will occur way beyond our lifetimes. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day.
Wow.